This week on True Discussion, we jump right into some marital questions. Fellas, can we tell our wives what they can and cannot wear? Ladies, are you going to let us do that? We have to see what the Bible says on this scenario, so you're going to want to check that out. Next, a little disclaimer for the rest of the episode. If you are uncomfortable talking about sex, porn, sex trafficking, that's pretty much the majority of the rest of the episode. Now, I warn you just because if you're uncomfortable talking about that, we dive into some pretty nasty details. It's all about a documentary that exposes sex trafficking and the porn industry. And Chris has some stats that backs up the use of porn, not only in the world, but in churchgoers. And it's kind of frightening. So you're going to want to check out why we talk this topic out. Other than that, brothers and sisters, I'm going to shut my big dumb mouth, get out of the way. Hope you enjoy this discussion. Hey there, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to another episode of the True Discussion Podcast. It's the only podcast in the world where we can discuss anything with anyone. We know if it's true or not because we're going to stand on that sweet word of God when we do so, man. We're still your hosts. My name is Joseph Dobbs. I actually realized it.
I like
live.
It. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. And I am...
Who are you?
Your trusty sidekick. Your Robin. Your... Vanna White.
Yeah?
Doe Stripe Douglas.
Dang. I don't know. I think if we were going to ask people...
They would definitely say that
you're the
Robin.
Batman and I'm the
no,
Robin.
No, definitely not.
You have more
dude.
martial arts.
But that's... Okay, but in the realm of what we're doing here, you definitely are the star of the show.
You're the billionaire philanthropist. That's
I'm definitely not at all. Not even close.
No, never mind.
You know, in fact, I'm working on my second million, bro, because I gave up on the first. So,
who said that?
I don't know.
No, there was a guy on Instagram. He's like, they're like, how did you make your first million? And he's like, I actually gave up and I just started on my second one. and they took him seriously. They thought he was giving financial advice, and he looks around. He's like, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Okay, Chris, I have a very serious question for you, man.
Okay.
Ephesians 5:24 says, now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Does that mean when I tell my wife, hey, make a sandwich right now, she has to?
Absolutely.
No, I'm joking with that one. I'm going to ask you, I purposely saved it for the podcast because I want to see what you have to say. I was watching a guy speak on this because I do agree. The church should, the church submits to Christ. There's no question. That's
right.
Scripture. Okay.
Correct.
But then the rest of the verse says, so also wives submit to their husbands in everything. Mm-hmm. The question that's posed, because I was watching a guy speak on this today, he was, the question at hand that they wanted him to answer was, does a husband have the right, the authority to tell his wife what to wear? In the example is, wife walks out of the bedroom like she's dressed and like, oh, let's go out to Walmart. We're going to go shopping. And she's wearing something too skimpy. Does the husband have the authority to go, you're not walking out like that? That's the question that was being posed.
Okay, so I feel like it's an interesting question.
Okay.
Because I think that it's not... it's a simple question, and it's interesting, but I feel like it is. There's layers to this, right? Because if I were to say yes, then that would be me acknowledging that the man has already failed, right?
Dang.
He's already failing to lead, because if he's leading in a godly manner, she is not going to want to dress that way because she already wants to be honoring to God. And so she's doing that.
Because we're already in that submission, right?
Right, in submission to God, in that modesty. So if I say yes, I feel like that is, and I'm not, I want to say that would be an abuse of that authority, because he's already failed his wife, right, if she is doing that anyways. Now that's my opinion, but that, you know what I mean?
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that I think the man already failed, right? Why does your bride think it's okay to
dress like a
wants to
prostitute?
dress like that? What do we
And
do?
I feel like Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
and then I also think he failed in his approach, right? Your bride walks out and you snap and you're like, hey, you will not walk out like that. All right, well, I think, gosh, you always say it. You coined this phrase,
Gee,
approach
right.
dictates response.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you invented that phrase. So
No, I didn't. But
So wouldn't there be a better way to lead that?
Mhm.
Hey, whoa, honey, we're going out to Walmart.
Mhm.
We ain't going to, I don't know where we're going that's appropriate, but isn't there an approach to lead her? You have the authority to lead her. So wouldn't there be a better way to do that?
yeah, I definitely feel like,
Okay.
and that's an interesting one. Okay, so but
Thank you.
let's maybe change the scenario just a little bit. Okay, let's say that
Although mine was perfect. But
Ada is ninth grade,
Okay.
or let's
Okay,
say
okay.
she's in high school. Okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's about to go to a school
Oh,
dance.
man, okay.
Okay, because and I'm sure you have lots of friends on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and things like that they had kids that went to the homecoming was
Yeah.
last week, I think.
Friday, yeah.
Right. So there were girls that I would have a real issue with my daughter dressing that way.
Yes.
Okay. Would I approach that situation with my daughter? Would you approach that situation with Ada?
Okay, you know what's funny? Now that we have already kind of fleshed out that, wow, maybe my approach with my bride should be different instead of the like, get
Mhm.
back in there and change your.
Right.
You know what's funny? Prior to that, if you had asked me this question 10 minutes ago, I probably would have said, with my daughter, the approach would be, you get back in your room and change. But actually, lead your daughter as well.
Sure.
Approach her in the fact that, like, hey,
Right.
this isn't what we wear.
Mhm.
And lead as to why not.
Sure.
And that we will be changing our clothes.
Sure.
Dang, that's good stuff, right?
But
Oh, okay, sorry.
okay, no, I agree.
thought I
But I
nailed
think
him.
no, I agree. But
Okay.
I tend to think that it goes back even a little bit further than that, though, right? Because at some point she would have had to purchase this dress, and that should have never been on the table.
Like, where did this dress come from?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
she borrowed it from a friend or whatever. So maybe there's a situation like that.
Actually,
But at the same time, to
I
your
think you're
point,
correct.
that leading
Yeah.
should have. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves. We're going to dress in modesty. Now, am I saying that?
Now you're not rolling over and letting your household walk over you, right? That I don't want it to be that way. Like, oh, well, wait, you're going to reason with your daughter to wear. Well, no, it's just that I do have the authority to say you're not leaving the house this way. But isn't there a way to lead and to teach as to why not?
Right. I feel like if you're doing it as sort of a dictator,
Guess what, bud? She's sneaking out and now she's wearing it anyway.
Right.
So good luck
The
with
issue
that.
that we need to address is the heart.
Right.
Right. The heart issue.
And lead that.
Right. Like, and I can't remember.
I like what you said.
Dude, a situation has happened since the last time that we have recorded.
Uh-oh. Like at home?
Yeah, gosh, I don't know that I want to talk about it on here,
so
but
now
it
you
is
have
something
to.
that I want to talk to you about.
Oh, you're going to tease the listeners like that?
Gosh,
Can't
darn it,
think
man.
about that for a second.
Okay.
If you can
Let me
or
do
can
that.
not. Because I get it. That is your personal life. So yeah, no, I like what you said that, again, the leadership already failed. Because, dude, men, if you're listening, by the way, when we talk about leading, it's not this tyrannical, like, I'm at the steering wheel. Everyone in the house has to do what I say. It's not. Do not think like that. This is biblical. We want to do this in a godly way. And so what I always harp back to is like, man, think of Adam and Eve. Like, it says Eve was deceived. That's okay. That happened. But when God comes down, who does he go to? Adam.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, bro? You were supposed to be watching all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So you are responsible. So I like what you said. Like, if something like this happens, like, okay, wife comes out, she's dressed skimpy, or a daughter comes out for homecoming, she's dressed skimpy. Leadership has already failed.
Right.
Something needs to have been addressed steps prior. So I like what you said, like with the daughter. Where'd she get this dress?
Right.
For a friend? Okay, we have to address this now. Like,
Right.
that's
and,
not
and,
good.
and certainly if mom
Mom
bought the
snuck her that dress,
or not snuck her, but bought the
Right.
dress, you know what I'm saying?
now we have to address that.
Right.
But this is all in a, my goodness.
But
it's hard.
This
A
has to be
Christ-like-
pre-planned, right?
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is not a in the moment. Oh, now I have to take exception to this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, gosh, this is getting me thinking, though. You know what I'm saying?
Parenting's easy.
You know, no, good grief. You know, because I have a 18-year-old daughter, which she could she's an adult now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
for real.
what am I going to do? But Emery, you know, being 4, almost 5 now, it's like, golly, you know, that is stuff that I definitely need to not just be thinking about, because that is stuff that has been on my
Sure,
mind
yeah,
in a
yeah.
sense of like, how are we going to do business? And it's no different, you know, with the boys, you know, because they're always trying to wear skimpy clothes, and I'm like, dude, what
Yeah.
are you doing? No, I'm just kidding.
The boys came
No,
out.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
I don't know why that went over my head.
Yeah, I was like,
The
wait
boys
a
are
minute.
wearing skimpy
You
clothes.
did not get that. Okay, so I'll tell you about the situation. The reason I didn't want to say anything is because I don't want to. I don't want to be an embarrassment. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. However, I think it's applicable, right?
Okay.
Because and it might actually be a decent segue into some of the stuff that we want to talk about this evening.
Okay.
Okay, so this would have been. It's in the last couple of weeks, anyways. Isaiah. So our school district has everything is on iPads, which I am not a fan of. The only time I've ever been a fan of it is during the whole COVID thing, just because they were already set up to do remote learning and things like that. Don't know that it was like super effective and certainly not as in depth, but they were already set up for it. So that has been the only time that I've ever been like, dude, kudos to you. Okay. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the idea that kids are I think it's well played by Apple, you know what I'm saying? Because hey, let's get them used to this system and sucked in and, you know, all this stuff early, and then, you know, we can, you know, we'll have a market base, you know, moving forward. So well played. However, I'm just not a fan of it. Okay, so anyways, a situation arose to where there was we're checking out a school iPad and kind of looking at some of the search history, because some stuff just wasn't adding up in terms of use of time and things like that. And you know what? We're involved parents. It's not overbearing. It's I love my kid.
Look through.
They have an iPad at home, and my kid, you know, my 14-year-old has an iPhone. Now, that being said, and he has a laptop. We have an app, the Bark app, set up on his laptop and his phone. So we get alerts. We have settings. You know, we can dictate in a sense, you know, screen time, when is permissible. We can cut his internet off. You know, we're taking precautions. You know what I'm saying? And it's we acknowledge that the ultimate aim and goal as parents is to train and equip our kid to be able to, or our kids, to be able to live healthy, productive lives, learning how to say no to themselves, do the right thing, be God honoring. Okay. All of those things. So that's the end goal, and that's what we're moving to. He's going to have to get to this place where he can stand on his own 2 feet, govern his time, monitor the things he's looking at, all this stuff. Anyway, there was some stuff on the iPad, dude, that was, it was not, I can't say pornography. I can't say pornography in a, certainly not in a world sense, right? I could say pornography in a biblical sense. Because the provocation of lust would absolutely be aroused. Absolute. So I'm not trying to make it sound worse than it was, but I'm also being realistic. Okay.
Fair enough.
So anyway, I had, you know, that came up, and so then we had to have a conversation about, you know, the similar things that we're talking about with a young lady, you know, our daughters, in that, hey, listen, this is how we conduct ourselves and things like that. So I was able to have like a very fruitful conversation with my son about like, look, dude, there's a reason that we don't do these things. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that we don't look at this stuff. And I feel like being able to talk to him as a man, but in the way of like, look, dude, God made sex, and sex is awesome. Now, but sex is only for marriage. And we in our flesh and our lustful desires want to pervert God's view of this, God's standard of this. And the thing about it, and this is one of the things that I absolutely love sharing, but also makes me love God even more is that God isn't up there like, you're teetering and you're gonna fail and I'm gonna squash you. He's not looking for us to fail, right? And the thing about like even going back to the 10 Commandments, right? And we'll talk about lust because that's what we're talking about. There's a reason that God that is one of the commandments. Okay, look at the destruction that comes from that. Okay. And we can talk, and that's what, so I talked about that. And we talked about the fact that, there's young men that, are so overly stimulated by this. And much more of the science stuff behind that than I do, but are so overly stimulated that they can't please their wives. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just not enough stimulation.
Yep.
And there's a ton of other implications, and we may get into that, in the episode, and I hope we do. But anyway, I guess the point in all this is just that it was a very fruitful conversation. Now, obviously, that's a challenge, but to be able to look him in the eye and say, like, look, dude, you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a warm-blooded man, and I have had my own issues in this regard. And and you say that in humility, and it's by God's grace that we're saved, that we're redeemed from this stuff, and the view that we have now. But the truth of the matter is that when he's looking at these images, that is a daughter of God. God made this woman to not be exploited in this way. And we don't understand all the backstory to those situations and all of that, whether these young ladies are doing this voluntarily or they're being forced to. But it also distorts the view of what God, how God designed us to look at these women, right? When we're looking at them as an object to fulfill my need, that is a massive detriment when it comes to relational, not just integrity, but relational dynamics. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm looking at my brain, because say I have this issue and I'm looking at this lady and I connect with her because she's attractive, and that is the basis of our relationship. That is a relationship doomed to fail. And the thing is, we compromise on all these things. And we get in this relationship, and we're, we got, a house, 2.5 kids, and a dog, and all this stuff in life, and that fades because all of these things are going on. Now my relationship is in a wreck, and now this home is broken, and maybe it can be reconciled, maybe it can't. You understand how all this stuff goes? It's a snowball effect there. And I'm rambling, man, but it was such a good conversation. Obviously, the hope is that it sticks and there's there's truth that you can glean from that. And also, and I should add that it didn't stop there, man. I called the school. Talked to.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it wasn't
Papa Douglas.
Approach dictates response, right? Like I talked to the principal, and it was not in an accusatory way, and it wasn't in a your filters are crap, and But I did say, like, look, man. A part of my view is that you take these not liberties, you take these steps to protect our kids from a mass casualty or like an active shooter, that situation, this and that. And I hope that you take the same regard as to the protection of my child from this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And he told me, like, look, I don't. We do have filters. And I liked his perspective, dude, because he was very much like, I want to know how he was able to see any of this kind of stuff, because some of the key words in the search, like I don't know how he was looking at it either, but nonetheless, that was, I guess, maybe to sum it up, that was the principal's approach.
Yep.
Was very much like of concern. He listened. I felt like I was heard, and he was going to look into that.
Yeah.
Good.
Man, that's good. Yeah,
You know
because if it's something, man, students are going to be dealing with, and you guys are putting these in their hands,
right?
Let's clean this up, please.
And he talked about how there are active filters, and he was saying, like, there are words that if they type in, he said that if they look up the Second Amendment, there is an alert.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, gun. So there he mentioned like many words. That are triggers
Yeah.
that throw up flags, and I would assume some of this stuff should have been. So if somehow he figured out a way to get around it, or
Yeah,
if
yeah.
maybe and again I don't know.
So a couple things on that real quick. One, two-strap Doug. So I freaking love that we're talking about leadership, and you got to demonstrate that. Not in a fun, comfortable scenario, but had to happen. And so, again, we could, like the daughter coming out in skimpy clothes, you can say, you are not dressing. We can do this
Right.
snappy thing. So like a son struggling with images, we can snap and go, you know what I mean? Like we can shame them and belittle them, but it's like,
Right.
we got to lead that heart though. We have to address something.
Absolutely,
right?
because it would be easy in a sense, right, to say, just beat him over the head with the Bible. Jesus said, if you look at a woman lustfully, commit
All right,
adultery
Dad,
in your
all
heart,
right.
and the consequence of sin is death,
Right.
eternal judgment and all this. And
I
that.
want this conversation to stop, Dad.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and I've thought about this. Like, I feel like when it matters, I can engage and feel good about that engagement. But I feel like when it doesn't matter, I'm a jackass.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Like there's weight to it just because of the scenario.
Dude. So I am so in this situation, like I feel like just so very intentional, so very delicate, so very not wanting to shame this young man, wanting to be an ear, as Anthony has said. You know what I'm saying? Like I want if you're struggling with this, man, I'm in your corner. I want you to know that. I want you to know that I want to hear about this, man. Like, whatever the struggle
man,
it is, you know what I'm saying? So that is
1000%.
the approach where it's like, oh, you didn't clean your room. My head pops off and spins around a few times. You know what I'm saying? Like stupid stuff like that.
What does that look like
dude.
real quick?
I can't.
He does it. So the other thing is, me and my brother, Chris, so Chris Dobbs, not Chris Douglas, we have talked about this, that sin is an interesting thing, man, because at the end of the day, people are, we're lazy and we're kind of dum-dums, but when it comes to sin, specifically the individual's sin that they want and desire, us creatures all of a sudden can become super smart and super active in acquiring that sin. And so what I can speak from experience is like that, like filters or whatever on a computer device. I don't know if I've ever told my brother this story. So Logan, my older brother, we had a computer when we went to the Votex in 2004 and 5. And it was a no-brainer, like, hey, we're getting filters on this thing. Like, we don't need that. And it's like, yeah. It did not take me long to get through those filters. You can figure this stuff out.
Right.
And quickly, too. And I think the reason why me and my younger brother talk about that is because it's interesting how, like, if you told me, hey, Joseph, you need to start exercising more and be able to do this by 6 months, I'd probably be like, do I have to? Or I'd be lazy about it. It's easy to just not do it.
Right.
But when it comes to our sin, we work incredibly hard and we're super smart all of a sudden when it comes to acquiring that sin. And that's scary. It's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, man.
But gosh darn it, that's why we address stuff. That's why we don't just let little stuff, Joseph slipped once, he'll get it. No, man, that's my sin I struggle with. And like we need to address it and call out for help. And dude, you know this, you can speak on this. I have called out for help where like if I feel a strong urge, a craving for whatever reason on a certain day, I'll reach out to brothers and say, hey man, pray for me. Like I'm feeling them on my back today. Something's heavy.
Right.
Yeah. Like I don't need to
but it takes that intentionality and discipline to do that stuff. And that is the stuff that, as far as my young man, I need to cultivate in him.
Absolutely, man.
Just to know, like, look, dude, you can come to me about this kind of stuff. And you need to be proactive about the things that you're engaging in and stuff like that. And, the truth is that I am super proud of him. I think he is a solid young man. And I think, Noah's 10, I think that, and maybe every dad thinks this, but it's like I have not just high hopes, certainly high expectations.
Sure.
But I truly believe they're going to be solid young men or solid men.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, and a part of that is that daily dialogue. And I certainly do not. I fail more often than not. And I make too much of stuff. I think that oftentimes my brain is going, 1,000 miles an hour. And so like, I'm thinking about the, 10 steps, 25 steps down the road of like,
Right.
and you're going to be homeless living in a van under a bridge.
Hold on.
You know what I'm
we haven't
saying?
even got there.
Like, yeah. So, what I mean? Like I got to slow my roll sometimes,
Sure.
but I praise God that we were able to have that conversation
Yep.
in a manner that pointed him to the Lord,
Mhm.
that called sin, that he understood,
Right.
the totality of it. It's not a simple like, oh, hey, I'm going to look at this thing and
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dude, man, honestly, because terrible leading men or non-Christian men, dads, excuse me, how easy is it for them to be like, oh, found a nudie mag under my son's bed.
Right.
Good for him.
yeah, boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys.
Right.
Ugh, miss me with that.
Yeah.
Dude, lead.
But that is
Lead.
the approach, right?
I know.
I feel like a lot of these, and I say that I don't mean this in a judgment necessarily, but it's like some of the feedback or pushback that not just my wife as well, we get is that other kids have access to, and I'm not
Full
saying
access.
right, full
Oh,
access.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because if Isaiah's going to be on the computer, now we have the Bark app and that, but it's like, there is a time limit on that screen time.
I mean,
Where it's not unfettered access, even with the filters
Right,
and
right.
all that stuff. We're not doing that.
I'm with you, man. To a parent listening right now that you're like, no, I give any cell phone or device computer to my kid anytime they want, and it's unfiltered, and I trust them. I'm with you, Chris. No judgment, but like, you're a fool.
Yeah,
You're a fool.
you're
man.
naive.
You're giving the
right?
entire world
Yeah.
to your child
Mhm.
on a device.
Well, the thing is that you look at advertising and things like that, dude.
Right.
It is so.
We haven't even got to like
Good
hardcore
grief.
sites yet.
Yeah.
You can scroll through Instagram and find soft stuff.
Sure. Absolutely.
I don't want to lose someone and have them turn off just because of the words I'm about to say, but like, please be more active as a parent.
Yeah.
Please be more guarded and protective about your
Sure.
children.
Yeah.
These are the years you have them. Don't
Yeah.
wait till they're 20 and be like, ugh, crap, I probably should have
Yeah.
watched what they were looking at. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, now's the time.
I mean, you'll regret. I am convinced of
You're
this,
going to have
man.
regrets no matter
You're
what.
gonna, yeah, I know that there's going to be things that I definitely. I mean, there's things I already regret. You know what I'm saying? So, gosh, I'm just trying to minimize the
I'm
level.
a dad
the
in the
level of
flesh, all
regret.
right? I messed up. Excuse me.
Golly.
Do you want to jump into the big topic?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this kind of is a.
However it transitions, really, I wouldn't mind just pushing the podcast, man, that you recommended.
Mhm.
Because the listeners should listen to it. It is a very dope one. I mean, especially men, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was one of Kyle Thompson's last episodes, and I could reach out to him and see if we could put that on our website, or you could just go to his website or podcast link or whatever, and throw it up. But he was interviewing, and I feel
Benjamin Nolot.
Okay, there you go. Maybe go ahead.
Oh,
If you got
I
it
had his
pulled up.
name. No, I wanted to get his name.
So
correct.
he's interviewing this guy. He's a filmmaker, author. He did some documentary. Anyway, he interviewed him about this 3-part series that he has done.
Yes.
And it is exposing and really diving into pornography. And so in this interview, there was parts that were hard. And one of the things
in the podcast.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So because they just talked about the project.
Yes.
On the podcast. But at one point in the intro, Kyle says, "Look, there's a part in this episode where I nearly break down in tears, and I'm just so furious. And you'll know when it gets there. He doesn't talk about it at all." And I knew exactly. Did you know exactly when he talked about it?
So first of all, yes. What's interesting, something is interesting, man, about evil, monstrous acts, because I listen to the podcast, and you obviously can tell when the moment comes up. You can tell when Kyle. It's almost like he vocally checks out and like, dude, I want to smash evil in the face. So I listen to it, and I got to be honest. When I listen to it, I don't reach that level as I'm listening to it. But then for some reason, I call my brother after the podcast, and I'm like, dude, you got to check this out. Chris told me to listen to it, and I did. When I have to tell the story, that is the moment constantly. When I had to audibly tell it to my brother, I ended up crying on the phone. I don't want to talk about it, but like, listen to that episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he Benjamin's work is all of his documentaries are designed to expose certain things in the sexual world. So that's the porn industry, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, abductions. Like that's his wheelhouse. That's what he exposes. And so, good grief, on the podcast, I think the story he tells is the story that got him interested in exposing it. Right? I think that's what that story was.
Yeah. Well, and he draws a pretty clear line, even in that I think is an hour maybe episode from like pornography and the direct correlation to human trafficking, sex trafficking.
Gosh, dang,
and that it's heartbreaking. But a part of the ministry that this guy is in is setting guys free from this stuff, and so. Super, super great. So that's, and we've been talking a little bit about this in the episode thus far. And we're going to kind of dig into that a little bit because this is a big deal. It's, you know what I'm saying? I want to actually, I do want to pause though real quick because on that, there's a point, the point we're talking about in that episode. And I don't know how you feel about this, but in that moment, bro, like I am absolutely convinced, and I guess I want to get your take on this. Maybe you can relate, maybe you can't, or what's wrong with me?
I think I know where you're going.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I am absolutely convinced that and it doesn't have to be my child.
Yep.
If I came across an individual doing wrongs to another human in that capacity, I am convinced that I could rip that individual to shreds and not feel bad about it at all.
I'm with you, man. And I guess for the listener, let us know if there's something we need to work on because I'm 1000% with Chris. And I don't want to say that as a macho, like I'm.
No. I don't mean it that way because maybe I'm not saying I'm that tough, but I am saying
my justification, it does come from the Bible that a rapist. I mean, this sexual monster, your blood should be spilt. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
You forfeited your life. And then gosh dang it, I know that sin doesn't like have levels, but to do that now to a child, you're done.
Yeah.
You're 1,000 it doesn't bother me to be the person to take your last breath. You're done.
Yeah.
Now I don't find joy in that. I don't gloat in that.
It's no.
You're
no.
This,
and I understand vengeance is God's, and all that. That's why I wanted to talk about it because
well, I'm on the same page with you then. If that's an issue, the students actually were asking me because Shay and Ada are gone. They're in Georgia right now, and I told them I was like, we got a little tracker because I wanted to get one for Ada that wasn't like an obvious thing, like a watch or necklace, because you can buy those.
Sure.
I wanted to like hide it on her clothing so that, God forbid, worst case scenario, right?
Right.
That they don't find her watch or necklace, right? She has a hidden tracker. And so the students were kind of like, oh, I like that. And then they're like, Mr. Dobbs, what would you do if Shay calls like she's gone? Then they asked, they're like, would you call the cops? And I said, I would not. I'm finding that tracker. They will deal with. I will deal with them. I'm not calling the cops. Now maybe that's something I need to work on my heart, but
I feel
you took my 4-year-old daughter. Daddy is coming.
Oh, sure,
I don't have a second to waste.
I thought you were gonna bust out like I have a particular set of skills.
I will find you.
Yeah. I feel like I might be inclined to call the police and but be very open with. You better hope you find this individual first.
Before me, my thought process is, cops and lights show up. Now my girl is in a hostage situation, and I just don't want.
Sure.
I don't. Do I have the?
Well, and
Do I have
God
all the right
forbid
answers?
any of this stuff.
Right.
You know?
But like your brain just goes to, what would I do? That is my little 4-year-old.
Mhm.
If she is taken, she is wondering where her mom and dad are.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Little 4-year-old. Gosh dang it, dude. And this
Yeah.
this crap goes on every single day. And if I'm being honest, man, I know one of the things I wanted to talk about, not that I'm going to get an answer on the podcast, but I talk about this with my brothers all the time. I truly hate that in Benjamin Nolot's work, he has a quote in one of his documentaries that we like to celebrate and think we ended slavery, when actually slavery right now is the biggest and worst it's ever been because of sex trafficking.
Mhm.
It's the biggest and worst it's ever been in mankind, in the history of mankind.
Gosh, dang.
And so like we like to celebrate like we got rid of it.
Well, and that's
No.
what annoys me is like you have all these people because to your point, we make much of like reparations and things
Right,
like that. There
right.
are people that make much of that,
Right,
You know,
right.
for the, Black Americans who, 150 years ago,
They weren't
this was a
alive
thing. You know what I'm
during
saying?
slavery.
Like, right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's that. But I'm saying, but I guess why are we making a hubbub about this and even pushing for reparations? All this when it's
we
an active
have an actual slavery situation going
That's
on.
what it falls on deaf ears to me because it's garbage.
That's the point I was trying to make. It kills me that we kind of go, oh, child sex trafficking. Bleh.
Yeah, but you
Dude,
don't.
This has been revealed. We know social media platforms do this. We know the government is doing this. We know if Joseph Dobbs did something wild, you all could find me within minutes.
Right.
You can track me on social media. You have face recognition. You can find me.
Sure.
But we can't stop sex trafficking.
Well, right, exactly. But I think so. Just a couple of statistics because I feel like the thing is that they don't want to stop this. They don't want to.
Gosh, dang,
so
dude.
these stats come primarily from the Barna Group and Covenant Eyes. So over 40 million Americans are regular visitors to porn sites with an average visit that lasts 6 minutes and 29 seconds. There are around 42 million porn websites, which totals around 370 million pages of porn. And so you're right.
Like, what are we doing?
So and if there is a direct correlation, because the truth of the matter in the documentaries, one of the things and I haven't watched the documentaries, but one of the things they talked about is that some of these people are absolutely doing this against their will.
So yeah, there's a good point Benjamin Nolot makes for you. Hey, guys listening, if you're struggling with porn right now, he makes a really good point that he says he almost can guarantee that if a man struggling with porn right now would watch his movies, they would stop. And the sole reason he says is because if you were to learn the truth about how many of these girls that you're watching online are actually sex traffic victims, they're there against their will, that should make you stop.
Sure.
That is freaking disgusting and evil.
Yeah.
And you're partaking, you're watching this.
Check this stat out, dude. This is good grief. Okay, so the porn industry's annual revenue is more than the NFL, NBA, and MLB combined. It is also more than the combined revenues of ABC, CBS, and NBC.
The porn industry.
Dude, you're talking about millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, man.
The money we're just throwing away at porn. Can I also this might be a branch no one's thinking about right now, but my brain is. Fellas, like why? Why are we just throwing this money to something that nasty and wicked? Now here's where I'm going. Like you have a wife at home. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Well, what if they don't?
I know. I guess that's where my brain was like, gosh, to the guys like you're married, I just don't get it, man. I mean, I do because that's.
Yes,
I like to say that was my struggle,
dude.
but like it technically still is because I still get a craving. But what I'm saying is like, why are you don't give into it? Like, what are we doing?
Right?
Do we just not know? Do we just not know the girls are victims in this, or we're not aware of how it's made, dude? Oh my gosh. Are we going to talk about the his episodes that he's recently putting out? The 3 episodes, because I kind of do want to get into that one.
Yeah. I
'Cause
mean,
that
I just have a ton of stats as it pertains to pornography.
Yeah,
and
go
that.
ahead.
So, but I mean, I can sort of work these in as you want, because you've watched one of them.
Yeah, so Benjamin Noah is doing a series now, and I don't know if he said how many episodes he wants to do, but I believe there's 3 out now. The first one is on YouTube for free. You can check it out. It is called Barely Legal. Now, I know that sounds terrible, but he did do that for a reason. That episode is all about exposing the porn industry and its latest, most popular current trend, the biggest thing that is searched in porn. So, ladies, like I'm sorry, I don't want to gross you out, but it's the fact of the matter. The thing that is the most searched right now in porn is underage. So the episode's called Barely Legal. Now, what this episode exposes is that these ladies in the porn industry, they are of age, but they already naturally look super young, right? They're small, they're petite, they just look young. They make videos where they are acting and dressing up like 12 and 14-year-old children. They're acting like very young underage girls.
Man.
Okay. Now I described that to you. I want to remind you that is the most current searched thing right now in the porn industry.
Well, and then
this underage crap.
Yeah, that's disgusting. But then you also look at what they're doing. You know, these drag shows, right? That they've submitted
Pushing
children
it on
to,
children
right?
and pushing it
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
children.
And then you think about how they're not calling them pedophiles anymore. There's a name. It's
fall
minor
for that
attracted
crap. Don't
persons,
fall for that.
right? That's that.
Don't water it down.
Come on. We're trying there, and that's the thing, is they're trying to minimize this.
Yes.
I mean,
in any capacity, they're trying to water it down.
it'll be wild to see where we're at in 5 years from now.
Gosh dang.
Right.
Dude.
And we've talked about
Yeah.
this before,
Yeah, we
right?
have,
like
man.
if a child can choose their identity, their sexual identity, why can't they choose their sexual
You know, and especially if we're
partners or
we're deconstructing the household roles.
Mm-hmm.
They've been trying it for decades, trying to deconstruct what sex is, marriages. If we can do all that, and it's just open, free love and identity, I'm sorry, Christians, but you don't have a ground to stand on when they come for children. Like when they openly say, you know, maybe 12-year-olds can be with a full-grown adult. I mean, what's so wrong with that?
Right.
You've lost already.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stand on.
Well, and you're giving into it now, which, you know, with this whole transgender,
Gosh,
I mean,
dang
this
it,
is
dude.
like a wild movement, man, that has just infiltrated so many different areas. That's a whole other subject,
Yeah.
but my goodness. A couple of stats here. Pornography use increases the marital infidelity rate by more than 300%.
Gosh dang it, dude.
11 is the average age of a child first exposed to porn, and
Yes.
94% of children see porn by the age of 14.
Think about this, but so before you move on with that one, either they talked about it on the podcast or Benjamin's stuff talks about it. So he had a great point. I didn't even think about, because here's the thing, I do want the listeners to know. Like my first pornographic stuff I came across was when I was 7 years old. Okay, so that's a young age. Oh, how would I describe it? What I saw was filth. But now, if a 7 or 11-year-old boy comes across something, I'm not trying to be too gross, but like they will come across something. Okay, let me start this way. 100 years ago, you probably saw hand drawings was the pornographic images, right? It wasn't what you would call too hardcore.
Yeah.
If your young boy now gets a hold of that stuff on the internet, the hardcore images they are going to see is stuff that's not even like natural acts. And I'm not trying to like gross him out or discuss him, but that's the fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to see stuff that, quite frankly, no natural acting heterosexual couple should be seeing in the first place. And this young boy is going to see that. That's going to be his first images of anything sexual.
Boy
that
or
is
girl.
Or girl, excuse me.
Right.
That is their starting point. That is their understanding of it now. What do you think they're going to grow and develop when it comes to anything sexual now, if that is their starting point.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Holy
And to that
crap.
thirst, all those things, man. My goodness. Jeez. That's tough. Okay, so 56% of American divorces involve one party having an obsessive interest, in quotes, in pornographic websites. So back to kids, 70% of Christian youth pastors report that they have had at least one teen come to them for help in dealing with pornography in the last 12 months.
So that one's kind of a funny one to me because it's not funny, but I have experience with that. So I was a youth pastor for a few years, and I took a shot. I took a stab because it's like, well, you know what? A lot of these are dudes, and I had a night where we like split guys and girls, and I brought it up like in a PC tender kind of way, right? Like as a youth pastor, what can I ask? I brought it up. Like, hey, is anyone struggling with this? Or does anyone has anyone? And dude, 100%, the male youth. Yeah, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. Like the approach is not shame on it. Like,
right.
You should be so ashamed. You shouldn't have even brought it up. No, dude, my heart is heavy for you right now because you're in a losing battle. I mean, this is not good unless you cry out and want help. Yeah. This is not good, you guys.
Right.
So, and it has to be addressed. Gosh, dang it, that has to be addressed. You don't just laugh that off. Boy, like we said, boys are just being boys. Gosh, dang it, guys. I don't know. We got to step it up and
I got some more
fun stats.
Yeah, golly. 68% of church-going men and over 50% of pastors view porn on a regular basis.
They view porn on a regular basis.
That's what it says, man.
Holy moly.
Of young Christian adults, 18 to 24 years old, 76% actively research porn. Golly. 59% of pastors said that married men seek their help for porn use. Golly, dude.
It's just... I don't know where we're failing. If we have made people believe you should be so ashamed, so therefore you shouldn't confess it, or is it just so ubiquitous, like porn? Is it just so everywhere that we almost go, yeah, I'm a guy, like I use it a little bit, whatever, even though I'm a pastor.
I think too, like the other thing, and we've kind of talked about it with, we got our little smartphones here. It's right at our fingertips. Yeah. But in the old days, I guess they could send it by mail, but the mail carrier is going to know, right? Or you had to go to some store and buy the magazine or videos or whatever it is. Now I can, you can do it in the privacy of your own home, that kind of thing. Golly. I don't know if that adds to it or doesn't add to it, but my goodness, man, like that breaks my heart. 68%. That's the majority of the men.
Something
in
is going wrong, guys.
And then we have to, and then we wonder why the church is in the state it's in.
Right, man. Like 68%, the majority, can't even lead and discipline their own body, and you're supposed to be leading the household.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me know how that works out for you. Golly, right, like from the outset, you've already decided you can't even discipline and lead yourself, man. And don't fellas. I'm sorry if you're listening and you're struggling. You're looking at porn. Miss me with this garbage of a lie. Well, I only look a little bit. I have it under control. I can quit whenever I want, if I wanted to. You're a fool.
Yeah.
You're a freaking fool.
Yeah.
Knock that out.
Paul tells Timothy to flee from
the youthful lust.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we've been talking about men. Okay, let's check this out about women. 33% of women aged 25 and under search porn at least once a month.
Wow.
Only 13% of self-identified Christian women say they have never viewed porn. 87% of Christian women have watched porn. So it's not just men, right? Like it's women as well. And obviously our approach is going to be to address men. We're men, right? Yeah. So I do certainly lean in that direction in terms of addressing you men that are listening to this. Like we have to do better. And I think that we've talked about this in other areas, and we've talked about pornography and that type of addiction. But we've talked about being disciplined to doing the right thing, beating our body, bringing it into submission to Christ.
Man, it's too, and I look, and I apologize for the past like 2 minutes. I'm coming off as like, you better not let me find out you're watching porn. I'll be mad and I'll hate you. No, I hate porn. Okay. And so I want you to know that women too, my goodness, what a time we're in if we're just all struggling with this freaking filth. I have a hatred to that stuff. What I want you to always remember, listener, if you are struggling with this, you need to cry out for help now. And I want you to know that you can cry help to me, to Dougie here, to find a group of people that you can. You need to cry out to help. Please do not buy that lie from the enemy that says you should be so ashamed of this sin. You better not pipe up about it. You better keep it private till the day you die. Nope. Do not fall for that garbage. That's a lie. Cry out for help.
Absolutely. Man, check this. This is an interesting stat to me. Interesting. Okay, so 57% of pastors say porn addiction is the most damaging issue in their congregation. 69% say porn has adversely impacted the church.
Gosh.
Okay, but hold on. If 57%, so the majority of pastors say that porn addiction is the most damaging issue in their congregation, why is it that I'm sure I've heard it from the pulpit, and I'm sure Greg has talked. Gosh, I don't know. I'm sure he has, right? Like whether that be in passing and not necessarily addressing it like head on necessarily.
Yeah.
But that is interesting to me, right? Like if I can acknowledge that this
we know it's a problem,
right? Why are we not hitting that head on?
Hit it hard, man.
Right?
Like I've only been filling in the pulpit for 2 months now, and I've already talked about it twice from the pulpit. Because here's the thing: the men are lacking in my church, and what I mean is literally their presence. It's just a bunch of wives and children's. That's fine, that's good. But I keep telling them, like, nag on your husbands, get them in here. And so I've called out men of like, dude, if we're kind of the same thing. My spiel of like, if we're struggling with that crap, and you think you can all of a sudden lead your family, lead your wife, be pleasing to your wife, dude, you can't even get over yourself. Like, you need to get help, man. And I say all that to encourage you, hopefully, to get help, because you please don't stay there.
Right. And I guess too, I would add this as well. Like, if you're in a situation where this is a current struggle that you're having, what Joseph and I are not saying is you are ill-equipped to lead your family. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I don't want you to hear me the wrong way.
Right. Yeah. So we're not saying like, but we are absolutely encouraging you to do what you need to do to get over it. Right.
In doing that, you will be leading your family.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? I'm not saying just because you struggle with this, therefore it's impossible that you're leading in any other aspects. Dude, maybe you're knocking it out of the park in other aspects. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
But yikes, we got this chunk that it's not little. Okay,
right.
Please don't minimize porn use. If you have a bride and you have children, it's actually big. Please don't minimize it.
Huge.
And so please get help for that.
Because, I mean, we could go.
There's so much science and search behind it and studies that show the use of porn, the effects it has on you. And fellas, maybe you don't know those effects. It is stupid. If I can be gross, ladies, sorry if you don't like this, turn it off for the next few seconds. But we have I should make fun of it. We have an epidemic in the country of young men in their 20s need prescription pills now to get an erection. And we're sitting around going, why is that? Gee golly, what is it in the water we're drinking? No, you tards. It's because we're all jacked up on porn and we don't even have a hunger to go hunt a female anymore. Mm-hmm. It's on our it's in our pocket. It's like fast food for my sexual urges. It's disgusting. Yeah. And then we wonder why, how come a warm-blooded female body doesn't do it for me? Because you're in love with images.
Right.
And doing there's studies that show the scroll is part of that addiction.
Yeah.
Think about this. Like 100 years ago, before technology, the average man, how many total full nude women did they see in their entire life?
One.
Probably one.
Right.
probably one. In 5 seconds, I can see 1,000 more than they have ever seen their entire life.
Right.
You think that's good for your brain?
No, definitely
Like
not.
what? We're supposed to act surprised when young men are, man, they just have no drive. They're not motivated. Dude, check, like these young guys at the college, have you ever watched them interact with females? It's so uncomfortable. And I tease them. It is uncomfortable because there's no confidence there. There's no hunt. There's no drive to talk to females. It's bizarre, man.
That's funny.
The other thing, fellas, is like the science behind it too is it is a chemical drug addiction, what porn does, because these images you're looking at, it immediately dumps dopamine. All right, the feel-good chemical that we have. It immediately just floods your brain with that, and you feel good. The problem is we do this so often, it fries the receptors that, like, think of it as a bridge that lets that dopamine go. It fries them because you're flooding it. You aren't designed to just constantly have dopamine.
Right.
That's not how we're built. It should be a once in a while, like a regular thing.
Yeah.
And so you're dumping so much dopamine. You're asking those receptors, those bridges, and eventually they just like can't do it.
Right.
And so what do you got to do? Chase that dopamine. I got to get more. I got to get more. And they say the good news, fellas. So again, those break. That's why like we lose sexual attractiveness to our spouse.
Sure.
We'd rather have porn. You can't even get an erection. Like it affects so much. They do say typically within 6 months of porn-free living, your brain is actually pretty strong. It'll grow those back, and you can become a baseline man again.
A baseline man.
Right. So so there is good. There's light at the end of the tunnel, fellas.
Sure.
But that's hard. It's super, super hard because you've designed your body now to desire this chemical.
Right.
So that's why I say you can play macho guy and be, oh, I can quit anytime. You can't actually because you haven't quit yet. So you need to cry out for help. Okay.
Good point.
Gosh, there's just so much stuff that goes into porn, and I hate it for you if you're using it right now. I hate it for you. But I do love you. Like I want you to know there's, gosh darn it, man, you got to cry out for help.
Absolutely.
Get help from that stuff.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before and bring it up again. You know, in terms of discipline, we as men and talking to the men, like that is something that you have to cultivate. It takes time, but being disciplined is vitally important.
Yeah.
And again, if maybe this isn't an issue for you. Okay, maybe you don't struggle with pornography.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But maybe you are lazy and not strong and not like you do not challenge yourself physically at all.
Come on, man.
I am going to put. I don't know if I can put it in the same boat because I don't know if that's necessarily a sin. But I would say though that as it pertains to leading your family,
oh yeah,
I feel like if you are not taking care of your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, you're not knocking it out of the park, and you're not leading well.
Look, we're not calling you to be. Not every husband's going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
Sure.
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah,
your husband's not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He could be Steven Seagal.
But guys, you're the leader. So like, I'm gonna agree with Chris. You at least, bare minimum, better be able to spiritually do that, to physically do that, right? If there comes a time, God forbid, where it's like, I have to protect, you better be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
You better be able to at least try to do that.
Yeah.
Strength, what would you say, mental strength? Oh my gosh.
Sure.
Guys, what are we doing?
But ultimately, and we come back to pornography, mental strength, right? That angst of like, man, I really desire this, to be able to have the mental fortitude to say, nope, I'm not doing this. And the spiritual aspect of that is I want to be holy and pleasing before God. And so I am going to say no to myself. Yeah. But all of those bases are in there. The physical urge to partake in this, the mental, and certainly the spiritual attack. So that is why we need to seek that to be gosh darn it, that fortitude, right? To build that. So anyway, I'm sorry.
There was a stat I wanted to throw back at you. Now I don't have the like numbers fully of it, but there was a thing I tried looking up 4 or 5 years ago. So maybe they have a number now. But when I looked it up then, they were trying to do a study on, there was a specific number they were trying to like find. So they were trying to find like the percentage of guys that had lived a life never having use of porn because they wanted to look at his brain activity, his if I cannot be gross, his erection capability, like his sex drive. I can say that.
There you go.
His sex drive. They were just trying to study that specific male,
Right,
and compare it to men who had used porn for years and are still using. And also, they wanted to compare it to the group of men who are used forever and got off and are now clean. So all those groups, they were easily able to find. Thus, the number they have yet to find is a percentage of men who have not used their entire life. They can't find that study because it doesn't exist. That's scary.
It is scary.
It's everywhere, guys.
Yeah.
Like, don't downplay this stuff.
Yeah.
One thing, so I'm going to say what I wanted to say to you last night, Chris. And I don't say this I'm not trying to put a spotlight on me. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm strong and I overcame something because, brother, anything good about me, that's from God. So I struggled with porn for a long time. Like I said, for the listener who doesn't know this story, I feel like I have told it, but at the age of 7, I saw my first pornographic images, and I'm not kidding. I was hooked. That I was like in love. A 7-year-old should not have that feeling towards anything, let alone that filth.
Sure.
I don't know what it was as a 7-year-old, but I knew I wanted it, and I just pursued that stuff.
Right.
Okay. So for a lot of years, that's what my heart wanted. So after watching like Benjamin's episode and like hearing him talk about his documentaries and stuff like that, there was a part where Benjamin explains. So everything else we have said about porn up to this point, that's stuff to be concerned about, and we should know. One thing he really went into detail was how porn doesn't tend to just stop with viewing videos. It can lead to some further stuff.
Sure.
And he kind of described it in some steps of like, hey, the married men are looking at porn. Then that leads to them wanting to do bizarre stuff in the bedroom with their wife. And of course, the wife doesn't want to because that's not normal stuff, dude. Right?
Yeah.
Then that can lead to like prostitution, right? Because you're paying someone. They'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Then that can lead to sex trafficking. Now you're purchasing custody.
Right.
Okay. So he's just saying, let's be careful because also porn doesn't necessarily just end there. It can lead to some nasty, nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I listened to that, and I have had this thought before. I've never said it out loud to anyone. That's why I didn't tell you last night. I wanted to say it on the podcast. I often do sometimes thank God, and I don't know if it is a weird thing to thank him for, but I truly do thank him. My addiction did not destroy my life. That it did not lead.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? What if I had struggled so bad it led to something that put me behind bars?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I don't say that to be like, I'm strong, I overcame it. I didn't.
No.
I'm saying that because, dude, by the grace of God, that could have been me.
Yeah.
It absolutely could.
Yeah. Well, he causally determined that.
Oh, you freaking turd.
No, I'm with you, man. Praise God. Yeah, and I feel like I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Like I've had situations in my life where, in the moment or shortly after those times where like have been actually really angry about this situation and kind of and ultimately have taken years to work through some of that stuff. But now on this side of it, I can look at that and say, yeah, that wasn't a good situation, but praise be to God that it happened the way it did, because I think had some of the things gone a different way, I definitely could have taken a different path. And so praise be to God. Praise be to God that he causally determined
that you
through sovereign decree that.
So you don't get to say, I could have
teasing.
done something else because God determined me to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, hey, man, we had to work it in there.
I
somehow,
know,
you know what I'm saying?
somewhere.
Even on this episode, folks, because if we didn't, we'd let you down, and we're not about that life.
We wouldn't be giving glory to God, right? We want to make sure we don't rob him
No,
of it.
but I'm with you, brother, man. Praise God that.
Truly, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I praise God.
I could still be struggling in it now and lose my wife and daughter.
Right.
At the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Perhaps I didn't chase. Again, I'm not trying to level sin, but dude, it could lead to prostitution,
Dude,
sex trafficking, right? Thank you, God, it didn't get there.
Sure.
That I'm not going to lose my wife and daughter.
Yeah.
Over it. Like,
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I
man.
know people who have lost much
Yeah.
uh, because of pornography
Yep.
and the things that it leads to. So yeah, absolutely, man.
Gosh dang it, guys. I mean, like, I'm grossed out. I don't know if I have anything more to add to
No,
that
I
topic.
hope that it was profitable, and as much as I'd love to get feedback, I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I would say
You
this.
can absolutely private message us, guys.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
ladies, I mean, I don't know if I want to invite
No,
that,
I don't.
but
I don't know. that I
ladies, you
would-
probably should find ladies
Someone,
to talk to, okay?
absolutely.
And I hope that doesn't come off as
No,
look, we
it's-
love you and
we
care
wanna
for
be
you as well,
appropriate.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Ladies, if you're struggling with porn and you reach out to a man, realize the
Yeah,
situation,
don't
right?
do
It's
that.
not good.
Don't
You
do
need to,
that.
but do seek help. Seek
Yeah,
some help
absolutely.
from some other lady friends,
Dudes, if you are struggling with this and you have, and ultimately, I would say you need to go to your pastor, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you need to be
Get help.
engaged. You
Get help, man.
absolutely start there. But if you need to reach out to one of us, man, absolutely
okay?
do
No shame and judgment from here.
Good grief,
Wrong is
no
wrong.
way.
I won't sway on that.
that.
But
Sure,
brother, if you're struggling with that, my heart hurts for you, and I want to see freedom for you.
absolutely.
Gosh, dang it, dude! I want to see freedom from you because that stuff, sexual sin, man, there's something about it. Like, it will grab you by the throat and put you to the ground.
Mhm.
It does
Yeah.
not care
Yeah.
that you are successful in the community, that
Yeah.
you got a hot, loving wife. It does not give two craps about that.
Mm.
Okay,
No.
and you're not. Hey guys, I hate to break it to you. You're not stronger than your sin. Like,
No.
I really think that's like step one of the program. You're not. Okay,
Yeah.
seek help.
Yeah.
Please seek help.
Yeah.
I do want to end on a really cool story. Maybe some good news. So,
Well,
And
so we'll save that for next week.
okay, so you guys, you got to tune in. So, I hope my student does approve of me using this story, just in case I won't give any names. But one of my students shared a story with me today that was just super dope. So I gave away the ending. It's super dope, but I'm gonna tell it in the way that he told me. Okay, so I shouldn't have said it has a dope ending.
And I will be the student.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Dobbs, how are you today? I really like your haircut.
No, students
Hey,
make
watch me swing this hammer.
all the
Ow, my
students
fingy.
make fun of my hair. So
Oh, they
that's
do?
not- yeah, I'm losing my hair. I'm thin. Okay, so here we go. The
Does your
story.
student sound like that, though?
What?
Your student doesn't sound like that, though, right?
No, that was a pretty accurate description. No,
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
kidding. I hope he listens because he's like, that's not what it sounds like. So he comes up and he tells me, I don't remember how the story started now, like why we got into it, but he tells me he had one of his best friends, right, grown up with, that he was very open about. The house he grew up in was a Christian household, but that this guy was very open about, yeah, I'm not about that
his
stuff.
friend's
friend.
household.
I'm just going to go to church because my parents want me to.
Oh.
I'll do all this stuff, but I'm not accepting as my Lord. Like, I'm not doing that. He was very open about that. He partied around, did whatever he want. Okay. It's 4th of July. He's blowing up some fireworks. Something went off by his neck, and it like cut his throat. Died within seconds. Okay, this is horrible.
This is
The
this year?
friend, my student's friend,
This year. Or at some point.
a few years ago.
Okay.
Is the point is when this story happened. So,
Oh, my gosh.
this happened when my student was asleep, so he had to wake up to his parents telling him, like, hey, your friend so and so died. It was a firework. It blew open his neck and like died on the spot. And he thought they were like joking, like, what are you talking? And no, it's real. Okay. So he goes to the funeral, my student, and he is thinking the entire time, like, gosh dang, like he is in hell. My friend went to hell. Like, he was very open about he did not want Christ. He did the motions just to like
Right.
please his parents, and he went to the camps, but he is in hell. And so now my student's wrestling, like, I could have done more. I should have done more. Like, the brother of this person gets up and speaks. He wanted everyone there to know, hey, 2 weeks ago, my brother got saved. Freaking, dude, I love that story. He was at camp, gave his life to Christ, and he got saved. A week later, so it's 2 weeks from he got saved to when he died. So a week after getting saved, he had written down in his Bible a note that said, man, I really hope my life impacts at least 100 people, which is just a funny random, like,
Sure.
all right.
Yeah.
There was 600 people at the funeral that got to hear that story. So, like, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
his story was heard.
Yeah.
He's celebrating right now.
Right.
He's in like, I really dig that, man. And then also, my student got an answer. It's like, oh, he's not in hell. My friend got saved 2 weeks ago. Didn't even know that.
Yeah.
He'll see me again.
Man,
That's
cool.
good stuff.
That got
So-
that got me.
I like stuff like that, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's end on a good note. So,
Absolutely.
anything else to add?
Nope, just
Okay.
like, share, and subscribe. And I know we say it all the time, but gosh darn
I'm
it.
gonna say it again.
We'll say it again. Like, it is important. If you're watching on YouTube, we hope you enjoy the content. Do subscribe, turn on the notification, hit the bell.
Yep.
Look, we enjoy doing this for the most part. There's some days probably not as much, but no, man, we want to be an effective ministry. We want to ultimately bring glory to God, and so if you like what we're doing and you appreciate the ministry, then please take the time and share what we're doing. Share it with a friend. Give us some feedback. If there's things that you think we could do better or you would like us to engage
absolutely.
in, let us know.
I got a thick skin. I mean, I'll cry, but we'll change.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up. Put a little bow on here, fellas. Like we said, man, if you're struggling in any capacity with that stuff, reach out. Dude, I'd grab a lunch with you, and if we got to chit chat and chum it up, I'll do it. But it really does start. I know it's corny, but it really does start with like you recognizing that, and crying out for help.
Absolutely.
Okay? Seek help, man.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to deal with it. Ladies, man, if you're struggling too, find some help too. There's ladies in your life you can seek. Parents, what do you think, man? Where do you stand on letting devices go to your kids filter free or parental guidance free? Where do you land on that? And I want to know why. I hope there's a parent listening that's like, I let them use whatever, whenever.
They're gonna find it anyway. They're gonna
They're find it. Ugh, I'm
Quit
mad.
that.
Don't write me that. No, do if that's your honest opinion. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We're getting out of here. Brothers and sisters, I hope this is good. Take this stuff, go out there and have a true discussion yourself. Until next time, God bless. Hey there, Joseph Dobbs here from True Discussion.
And Chris Douglas.
Look, we wanted to take a second and just say thanks for either watching or listening to our content.
But mostly watching because it's YouTube. And we wanted to just ask that you would take a moment and leave us a thumbs up, that you would subscribe and of course share.
Yeah,
because you
like it
people.
and share it and subscribe. We want you to do all those things now. Sorry, but
But yeah, now.
But yeah,
what are you
please.
waiting on?
seriously.
Seriously.